today we're interviewing Allan Ryan from the Hargraves Institute. How are you today, Alan?
I'm fine, thank you, Tony.
That's great. Hey, look, I think one of the interesting things we want to start with is where did the Hargraves Institute come from, and a little bit about yourselves.
Oh, absolutely love to. So my background is I'm a mechanical engineer trained in making things move in manufacturing. And I was very fortunate to end up at the Australian Graduate School of Management studying how large companies grow and looking at the innovation at the very start of this little while ago, the century really, Tony. So I've been around a while. And what made large organizations grow, what made them innovate. And this was right at the time of what makes large organizations agile. And so I've studied that now for nearly 20 years, and it's all around collaboration and innovation. And so what gets me out of bed in the morning, my passion is helping high-performing teams collaborate and innovate to grow. And I do that from a whole bunch of things, but that's where I come from, and that's what I love.
Yeah, that's a fantastic thing to want to do. And I guess what I see from you and how we came across you as Remote AF is because obviously we're looking at it in the remote frame, and obviously, as you know, over the past 18 months, driven by the lightning rod moment that we know as COVID, that agility's taken a bit of a sort of a right-hand turn as well for organizations, and now they've had to cope with that in remote and hybrid. And I think that's where, you know, we're always looking for those products and things that help with people working in those frames. And you've got a number of products that are fashioned around that. So I think we really want to talk to that a little bit, which is, I think the first one is Collaborator. Yeah,
so Collaborator is a workshop in a pizza box, and you can see it sitting behind me here.
Here's one you prepared earlier.
Sorry?
Here's one you prepared earlier.
Here's one I prepared earlier. Now, what we found is that in my journey, we've done an awful lot of innovation works with innovation teams, and we just know that great innovations come from great teams. And when you actually get a great team working well together, whether they're remote or hybrid or in one place, the performance is just fantastic. And we go in there and we help them. But you can't do that at scale, and you can't do that remotely. You've got to be able to give people a product that they can actually use. And so we created Collaborator, which is a workshop in a box, just like HelloFresh for cooking your dinner. Collaborator is everything you need in a box to run a fantastic team building workshop. What we also discovered is that when teams do it themselves, or when an agile coach does it with their team, they get a far better result than if you bring in an outsider, right? A home cooked meal may not be as absolutely brilliant as a restaurant meal, but the experience is far better. So getting people to help people do things themselves, take the responsibility, and give them all the resources creates great teams.
That's interesting. So when I think about that, so it's a physical product, but it's also a physical product that spans into the digital world, right? So you can, once you've got your hands on it, you can design that to think about how you're going to operate, or a hybrid sort of state, right?
Yeah, and so if you can't, so one of the fundamental things, and we were very fortunate in the early days, we did a lot of work with Atlassian and how they set up their business. And we know that if you bring people together to kick off a project at the start, to create relationships, that they can maintain them online. And that's well known and well proven. You can now do exactly the same thing 100% remote. And so instead of bringing people into the workshop, you send the workshop to them. And so yes, Collaborator is a physical product, and you can use it when you're all in the room together. You can use it when one person is remote and everyone's in the room together, or you can use it when everybody's remote. The secret, though, is you give the materials to the people so they've got them in their hands. So they're part of the workshop because they feel it, they touch it. And yes, that means that we FedEx and we deliver things to people's homes. And yes, we always include a chocolate bar. And yes, it brings people into the experience. And that's the magic, is because if you can't be in the room, or you've designed your business not to be in the room, then take the room to the person.
Yeah, that's a really interesting, because one of the things I talk about a lot when I'm talking to organizations is that you can't do in physicality what you did in digitality, right? So, and what I mean by digitality is the art of working and living in a digital environment, right? And so what we see is people trying to replicate in totality the physical things that you used to do. But what you've done there is you've taken some of the physical and some of the digital, and you brought them together, which is a very interesting way to do it.
And what we really want is people to tell stories, and people to look each other in the eye, and people to have small breakout groups and tell about their real life experiences, about what makes them thrive, what they're passionate about, and share it with their teammates, right? And we give them the tools. And it's I'll give you an example. So in Collaborator, everybody gets a packet of Collaborator cards, and everybody has exactly the same pack. And in the packet of Collaborator cards, we have got lots and lots of different photographs, right? Different images. And these are visual metaphors that spark your imagination to tell stories to your teammates that you wouldn't normally tell. And when everybody has the same deck of cards and are using the same images, they can actually tell stories that relate together. It's completely different if you go and find your own image, that's fine. But everybody having the same images actually has a commonality. And that just brings everybody into the room. It's a classic methodology. It's just that we've turned it into something that can be done remotely and in the room.
Yeah, it's brilliant. That's so. Where did that come from? How did you come up with that idea? Like,
well,
I think what you've talked about a company, but that particular type of thought takes a bit of work.
Oh, that takes a bit of work. And the Hargraves Institute is a membership institute. We've got lots and lots of partners globally. We take best practice globally. So our Collaborator partner is a company called CCS Corporation, a very boring name. They've been working on these images for nearly 20 years. And they've been working on these visual metaphors where they've been testing to find the right images, the right stories to tell, and how to really engage people. So we partnered with them. And what we did is we put the framework around it, the collaboration infrastructure, so that there is a system inside the Collaborator box and the magic of what we call visual metaphors.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And so what I understand with that is that that's not the only thing, because we just talked on Collaborator, but you do some team building with, I think it's Microsoft 365 as well.
Yeah, and so one of the things that we've discovered is that Microsoft 365 is everywhere, and people have got access to it, and it's a great toolbox, and they're not using it properly. And so we again partnered up with a leading research house called Enosis. They've written a book called Designing Collaboration, which is sitting here. All right. I prepared it earlier, as you said. Okay. And this gives you lots of information, but nobody reads books anymore. Okay. And so then what we did is that we actually turned it into a packet of cards, 50 cards that have got insights and tools and techniques, so that when you can actually sit down with your team and you can decide as a team, what are the things that you're going to do to make your team a better team digitally, right? And again, these can be done on an electronic whiteboard. They can be done. We believe, though, the secret is about doing this: looking, talking, discussing, engaging with your teammates really helps to actually decide what you're going to do. One of the things that I've learned, that's particularly during COVID, is we've learned not to tell people stuff. We've learned that we have to ask people, we have to engage people, we have to actually treat people as individuals. So you don't say, here are the 2 things you're going to do, right? You give them the tools and you say, here are 50 items, you pick the ones that are best. You pick the ones that work for you. You choose and have a discussion. And this particular very simple little product has got 6 of the most common problems, like how to have better remote meetings, how to actually save time, how to be creative online, all those sorts of things that people see, all in one little packet that makes it fun and engaging. So we've done that because digital team building is now a high priority for many organizations, as well as face-to-face team building. So having both means that it gives our partners and our clients and our friends the opportunity to pick and choose.
Yeah, again, it's that whole mode of bringing the physical and the digital into the physical, which is which caught our notice, right? Because we're always looking for those tools and things that can help make the experience better in a remote frame.
Yeah, and I think people are now getting so good at the digital stuff, and there's lots and lots of digital, that by making something physical, it's just something that's different. It breaks up the day, And yes, you can do another digital workshop, and yes, you can get another digital tool and an app. This is doing something different. This is just sparking something different. And yes, if you can bring everyone in the room for a day and a meetup, it's fantastic. And if you can't, you're doing something different. And then what we find is one of our major clients wants all their staff to have one packet of Collaborator cards next to their screen at all times, so that in any workshop or any activity they're doing, they can actually do activities like tell us how you really feel, find a visual metaphor, find a picture, and share your thoughts, right? So people can actually use it continuously to keep them engaged in the real world rather than just a flat screen.
That's really interesting. So are they the only two products that you're working with? Because they're the two that I'm aware of. But I understand that you either have got others or you're...
Yeah, so the one that I absolutely love is we've got a product coming along which is called Coaching. It's the title will be Coach Me, right? And it's the same thing. Having a coach is a fantastic opportunity. Affording a coach or having a coach for everybody in your team is something that a lot of organizations just can't do. So same again, we're using the same underpinning process. We've got a packet of cards called Leadership at Work. These cards are completely different. These cards have coaching questions on them. And so there's 8 different categories, and each of the categories had a whole bunch of questions, and I'll randomly pick one. And so you can actually see that on this particular one, it says, initiate creative opportunity. Do we make time to think differently about how things are done and generate new answers? Are we curious enough as a team to explore new possibilities? How do we do better? And so what you do as a coach, and a boss can become a coach, and an agile coach or a guide, remote guide can become a coach. You can sit with somebody and you can say, let's go through the cards and pick out what's important to you. Once you've picked out what's important to you, we can say, well, let's reframe it into your own world. Now let's answer it. What are you going to do about that? Now that you've picked it, what are you going to do? And what we've found is that when people answer questions that are important to them, they own the answer. And that when they come up with the answer, they own the answer, then they'll do something about it. When you sit there and tell somebody what to do, they don't own it, and most likely they won't do anything about it. Okay? And so we believe that bosses will no longer be bosses. Bosses will become coaches, right? Coaches, and you'll have guides as you have with Remote AF. And so people have a different relationship. No longer is it sit at that desk and do as you're told, and I can watch you work. I know you're working because I can see you. We have to coach people. We have to ask people and engage people, not tell people. And so that's what we call leadership at work. And it's about how people coach. But all our products we've focused on is the physical, the tangible, the to move in your hands, to show, to talk, rather than having it digitally. Yes, some of our products will end up on digital whiteboards and on digital platforms, and we can give you digital versions of them. So you can use them within your own digital platforms. That's absolutely fine. But really, it's about creating a different type of experience.
Yeah, that was one of the questions I was going to ask you. So you have them available, or you're planning to have them available in digital versions? Because I think
so. We've partnered with a company called Lucid. They came up with Lucid Chart, which is a charting, a diagramming platform that helps people move their. It was designed when everyone was moving to the cloud, and now they've come up with a whiteboard called Lucid Spark, and it's the only whiteboard that integrates into your planning tools. And so they've now taken some of our Microsoft 365 pack and put it on whiteboards and templates that people can use. We can also give you digital artifacts, and you can load them up on your own. So if you like Mural or Miro or Microsoft 365, you can load them up, right? What we decided to do as an organization is not to try to build another platform.
Yeah.
Right. There's enough platforms out there, and the platforms out there are absolutely fantastic. Give you the artifacts to put on your own platforms, and we're platform agnostic, and so that lets people do it. Always with the proviso is that you prefer that it's a physical activity, because that really engages it. But if you can't do it, then you can do it online.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say before, because I think in some of those instances, and the question for you there is, obviously, so some of the organizations we work with are quite global, right? And so you're looking at, say, for example, they might have people in India, they might have people in South Africa, in Spain, and in Australia. Do you facilitate the opportunity to send the physical to those kind of environments, or?
And this is, we did this for a large technology company, and after we did it, we ran 50 workshops, and they ran workshops, and then I interviewed the chief people officer, as to what was the benefit, right? And she said there were two benefits. The most important benefit is we came up with actionable outcomes that the teams could implement. That was the most important. We had actionable outcomes the teams could implement. However, we actually gave the teams a gift. We gave them something physical, and we gave them a block of chocolate and something nice, and they got a parcel, and we actually engaged, and it was different, right? And yes, we actually spent money on a bit of freight and all that sort of stuff, right? And yes, it took another week just to send it all out, which is only a week, which is not a lot. But we actually gave people a gift that engaged them and put everybody, no matter what country they were in, they all had the same packet of cards. They all had the same workbook. And yes, they were doing things and holding up things to the camera, but they were all in a room together, right? And that made the difference. So it's like topping and tailing a workshop. We're giving you something to bring you in the room, and we're making sure that you have actionable outcomes at the end of it. So it's just that, and a lot of organizations do this. A lot of organizations send out packs to their staff. They send out birthday packs and welcome packs and things like that. So sending stuff out to your staff is not a difficult thing to do.
No, that's completely right. It's just that a lot of people don't think about doing it, and particularly doing it in the frame that you're talking about.
And people just send us an Excel spreadsheet, and next thing you know, it turns up, right? So it's not like the organization has to do it. It's just done, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So give me the scoop. Is there anything else on the radar that you haven't spoken about? Is there anything out there that's coming that you want to give someone a flash bite on?
Well, the big scoop, I think, is that right now a lot of people are talking to us about this great resignation, great exhaustion that's happening in Australia and the US, where they say 40% of people are going to leave their companies in the next year. Right?
Yes.
And so that's a huge issue. And how do we then attract people to stay in the organizations because the organizations is better, right? Or why or how come? And what remote and hybrid has highlighted to us is that you might join an organization because the purpose of the organization or the leader or what they do, right? But you leave a team, you leave your boss, right? And so what we have to do is help the team leader be the best possible team leader, to identify the team's purpose and how the team operates seamlessly, because people, they can join a giant bank, but they resign because of their team, okay? And we've got to help people and help organizations not have people resign. And so creating that magnet, as we call it, that people are attracted to the organization because of their team, is the secret that's coming out next. And I think that's the challenge, is that a lot of leaders think, pay the staff more money, give them a few opportunities, things like that is what people stay for, and it's not, right? It's the relationships, it's the collaboration, it's working with your team and your boss is why people stay, and we've got to strengthen that. And so just remember the word magnet, Tony, and it'll be coming out soon.
Brilliant. So anyone who's listening, remember that word. Look, we're at the end of our time, so I want to take a moment to thank you for spending that time, and for the people viewing this. Hopefully, you found a tool that might be, or tools that might be useful for something that you're doing. How do they get in touch with you, Allan? How do they engage you to learn more or procure these tools?
So we'd love people to connect. So I'm very active on LinkedIn. So it's just Allan Ryan, ALLANRYAN on LinkedIn. You'll find me straight away. Or go directly to the Hargraves website, and Hargraves is HARGRAVES.com.au, and you can find all the tools there, and you can just have a look. And we've made nearly all the tools free to try, so you can download a template, you can download a PDF, you can have a look at it before you actually commit to buy, right? And what we're really trying to do is making all the tools affordable. So that it doesn't matter whether you're in a big, wealthy technology company or whether you're a public servant. What we're trying to do is make the tools affordable for everybody, for everyone to be able to use.
That's absolutely brilliant. Look, we're at the end of our time. Thank you so much, Allan.
Okay. Thank you very much, Tony.